AITA for leaving the relationship after my girlfriend treated me like her backup plan? I'm Jonathan, 32, and I spent almost 4 years being the guy who showed up before anyone had to ask. For Paige, that meant rides when her car was acting up, soup left outside her door when she was sick, standing beside her at family dinners, and pretending it didn't sting every time she acted like our future was a subject I was rude for bringing up. Paige was 30, funny, sharp, and beautiful in a way that made strangers turn their heads and made her pretend she didn't notice. She could make a bad day feel lighter with one sarcastic comment and a hand on my arm. She could also make me feel like asking for basic respect was some embarrassing personal flaw I needed to work on. That was the part one didn't admit for a long time. From the outside, we looked like a normal long-term couple. We had a shared streaming account with separate profiles. We had a shared tablet we used for recipes, calendars, trip planning, and watching shows when one of us didn't feel like sitting in front of the TV. We had dinner routines. We had a group chat with our friends. We knew each other's families. I knew Paige's mother liked white wine cold enough to sweat through the glass. I knew her father pretended he didn't care about dessert and then always took the biggest slice. Paige knew my coffee order, that my bad knee acted up in the rain, and which side of the couch I took without thinking. So when people asked how long we'd been together, I said almost 4 years. When people asked Paige, it depended on who was listening. In front of her parents, I was her boyfriend. At her family dinners, she would slide her hand into mine and say things like, "My boyfriend Jonathan handled the reservation," or, "Jonathan can help Dad move that shelf next weekend." She said it easily when the word made her look stable, loved, chosen. Her mother would smile at me like I was already built into the family furniture. But around certain friends, especially the ones who treated commitment like a personality defect, Paige suddenly got careful. "We're just seeing where things go. We don't need to label every little thing. Jonathan is more traditional than I am." She never said those things when she needed me to pick her up from an appointment, fix her internet, cover a deposit, or stand beside her in a family photo. She only became allergic to labels when the label came with accountability. The first time I asked her about it directly, we were in my car after dinner with her parents. Her mother had spent half the evening asking what kind of house we wanted someday, and Paige had laughed, leaned into me, and said, "We're not rushing, Mom, but Jonathan likes a backyard." I drove us back in silence longer than I meant to. Paige noticed, because Paige noticed everything that might become inconvenient for her. "What?" she asked, looking at her phone. I kept both hands on the wheel. "Do you ever think about it?" "About what?" "Our future." She sighed before I even finished the sentence. Not loudly, but enough for me to hear it. "Jonathan, I'm not asking for a ring tomorrow," I said. "I'm asking whether you see me in your future." She turned toward the window. The light from passing cars moved across her face. There and gone, there and gone. "Why can't what we have be enough without you turning it into pressure?" That sentence became one of her favorites. Pressure. Clarity was pressure. Consistency was pressure. Asking why she called me her boyfriend when it benefited her, but avoided the word when it might cost her independence was pressure. I used to think love was proven by consistency. Paige taught me consistency can also become something people charge you for emotionally, without ever paying back. The thing that kept me there was that Paige never fully let go. Whenever I pulled back, she softened. She would call late at night, her voice small. She'd say she didn't want to lose me. She'd say she cared about me more than anyone. She'd say she just got scared when things felt too defined. One night, after a game night where she introduced me to someone as my Jonathan instead of my boyfriend, I tried again. We were in her kitchen. The dishwasher was running. She had her hair pulled back and was standing barefoot by the counter, eating leftover fries straight from the takeout box. "So what am I supposed to be?" I asked. She blinked at me like I had interrupted something peaceful. "What do you mean?" "You know what I mean." Paige put the fries down and rubbed her forehead. "I don't want to lose you. I just can't be trapped by expectations. Being loved by me feels like a trap? That's not fair. I'm trying to understand." She came closer then. That was the pattern. When words failed her, she used closeness. Her hand on my chest. Her eyes wet just enough to make me feel cruel for wanting answers. "Can't you just be you?" she whispered. At the time, I thought that meant she loved me as I was. Later, I understood it meant she wanted me to keep performing the role without asking what role I actually had. The weeks before everything cracked were ordinary in the worst way. Nothing dramatic happened at first. It was just 1,000 small contradictions stacking up until they blocked the door. Paige asked me to go to her cousin's anniversary dinner because, in her words, I can't show up alone or my aunt will act like I'm dying. She asked me to drive her to pick up her car after repairs because it's not a big deal and you're already better with traffic. She asked if I had confirmed the weekend trip we had been talking about for months. I had paid the hotel deposit and booked one activity she had been excited about. She had sent me links, screenshots, restaurant menus, little heart reactions. She wanted the trip. She just never wanted to call it what it was. She also wanted help with her birthday dinner. Lauren, one of our mutual friends, was hosting the main dinner at a restaurant, but Paige had opinions about the cake, the seating, the after-dinner drinks, and whether certain people should get reminders because, as she put it, you know Ryan forgets everything unless someone acts like his mom. That someone was usually me. Our shared calendar was color-coded because Paige liked things to look organized even when she didn't want to feel responsible for them. Blue for my stuff, pink for hers, yellow for shared plans. The trip dates were yellow. Her family dinner was yellow. Lauren's birthday dinner was yellow. The appointment she needed a ride to was yellow. Our relationship was yellow whenever she needed it to be. The first public humiliation happened at Megan's apartment. Megan was one of Paige's closer friends first, but over time, she had become a mutual friend. She wasn't loud. She was the kind of person who cleaned as people were still standing around with drinks and noticed when someone went quiet. That night was supposed to be casual. Board games on the coffee table, half-finished drinks, a playlist someone kept complaining about, but nobody changed. Ryan throwing out jokes every 30 seconds because silence made him itchy. Lauren was curled on the floor with a blanket over her knees. Paige sat beside me on the couch until someone made a joke about couples who turn every plan into a 5-year project. Paige laughed a little too quickly. Jonathan takes everything seriously, she said. He probably has a 5-year plan for dessert. A few people laughed. I smiled because that's what I did. I had learned to absorb the first hit so no one else had to feel awkward. Ryan leaned back in his chair and pointed between us with his beer. So what are you two, actually? He said it like a joke, but the room shifted. Not dramatically, just enough. Megan's eyes flicked to me. Lauren stopped scrolling on her phone. Paige tilted her head and smiled like the question amused her. Jonathan knows what this is, she said. He just likes pretending it's more. For a second, nobody moved. It wasn't even the words alone. It was how easily she said them. Like I was a running bit. Like my love for her was some cute delusion everyone had been too polite to name. Ryan's smile faded. Wait, what does that mean? Paige waved her hand. Oh my God, don't make it weird. I could feel heat crawling up my neck. I looked at the condensation on my glass because if I looked at Paige, I was afraid my face would give away everything I had been swallowing for years. No, I said quietly. It's fine. It wasn't fine. It was just the first time she said the quiet part with witnesses. The rest of the night dragged. Paige acted normal. She leaned against me when Ryan put on a ridiculous video. She asked if I wanted another drink. She touched my knee under the coffee table like nothing had happened. I watched everyone else pretend nothing had happened too, because that's what groups do when the truth lands too hard between the chips and the board games. On the drive home, Paige was scrolling through her phone before I even pulled away from the curb. You embarrassed me, I said. She didn't look up. No, you embarrassed yourself by acting wounded over a joke. A joke is funny to the person it lands on too. She let out a sharp little laugh. See? This is what I mean. Too intense. I gripped the steering wheel and forced myself to keep my voice level. You told our friends I was pretending our relationship was serious. I said you like pretending it's more. Which you do. More than what? Jonathan, I'm tired. That's not an answer. It was a casual night. You turned it into a trial. I looked over at her then. She was still on her phone, thumb moving like my pain was background noise. I didn't say anything there, I said. Exactly. You got quiet. That's worse. Then everyone can tell you're upset, and I look like the bad guy. That sentence stuck with me. Not, I hurt you. Not, I'm sorry. I look like the bad guy. When we got back, she kissed my cheek before getting out of the car and said, Can we please not make this a whole thing? I nodded because my body was still trained to keep the peace even when the peace was built on me disappearing. The next few days were strange. Paige texted like nothing had happened. Can you remind me what time dinner is Sunday? Did you ever call about the hotel deposit? Can you send me the show login again? It kicked me out on my tablet. I answered, but shorter than usual. Sunday dinner is at 6. Deposit is paid. Password hasn't changed. She noticed. By Thursday afternoon, she called me. Are you punishing me? She asked. I was standing in my kitchen, looking at the shared tablet on the counter. It was plugged in beside a bowl of apples, the calendar open because I had been checking the trip refund deadline. I'm not punishing you, I said. You're being cold. I'm thinking. That's what I mean. You get in your head and make everything heavy. I closed my eyes. Paige, you humiliated me. I was joking. You keep saying that like it changes what you said. There was a pause. Then her voice softened. I don't want us fighting. That used to work. She would soften, I would reassure her, and we would end up with the same problem wrapped in a prettier blanket. This time, before I could answer, the tablet lit up. A notification dropped down from a message thread synced to Paige's account. That was normal. We both used the tablet. She had logged in months earlier to pull up recipes and never logged out of half her apps. I wasn't digging. I wasn't searching. The preview appeared right there on the screen. Megan, he'll come back if you cry, right? He always does. I went still. Paige was saying something in my ear, but I barely heard it. Jonathan. I looked at the preview until it vanished. I have to go, I said. What? What? I'll text you later. I hung up before she could start crying, because for the first time, the tears didn't feel like pain. They felt like a method. I didn't open her messages right away. I know how that sounds, and I know how easy it would be to make myself the villain by crossing lines. I sat at my kitchen counter for a long time, staring at the tablet like it was a locked door I had found standing open by accident. Then I opened the shared calendar, because that's what I had originally been doing. The trip was coming up in 3 weeks. Hotel deposit. Dinner reservation. A guided activity page had wanted badly enough to send me the link for separate times. Most of it was under my name because I had paid. Some of it was refundable until Friday at 11:59 p.m. On the calendar, there was a new event I hadn't created. It wasn't yellow. It was pink. The title was vague. Maybe we can talk. It was on the first night of our trip. The location field was blank, but the notes had a name. Trevor. Trevor wasn't a close friend. He floated around the edge of the group, usually invited by someone else. He was charming in a lazy way, the kind of guy who could make a woman feel like he was listening while he was mostly enjoying being looked at. Paige had mentioned him a few times lately, always casually. Trevor said the funniest thing. Trevor thinks people who overplan trips ruin them. Trevor is just easy to talk to. I hadn't cared. My issue was never that Paige talked to men. I wasn't interested in being that boyfriend. I trusted her because I thought trust was what you gave someone until they showed you they didn't deserve it. The calendar note was enough to make my stomach turn, but not enough to make me act. So I checked the hotel email. Refund deadline, Friday, 11:59 p.m. I checked the activity deposit. Refundable, minus a small fee. The dinner reservation required a card hold, but no charge if canceled early. I was about to close everything when the tablet lit up again. This time it wasn't Megan. Trevor. So is that weekend still a boyfriend thing or no? I sat there with my hand hovering over the screen. Then another preview appeared. Paige, not locked in as a couple thing. If you and I are still talking by then, I can repurpose it. Repurpose it. That was the word that did it. Not cheat. Not leave. Not choose. Repurpose. Like the trip I had planned, paid for, and saved for was a storage bin she could relabel if someone more exciting kept her attention long enough. I did open that thread. Not because I'm proud of it, and not because I think people should go through each other's private conversations looking for pain. I opened it because the notification had already told me she was using reservations under my name as bait for another man, and I needed to know what parts of my own life I had to protect. I didn't read for hours. I didn't scroll through every old message. I read enough. Paige had told Trevor that I was sweet but intense. She said I was basically already acting like a husband, followed by a laughing emoji. She said she wasn't sure she wanted that kind of settled life yet. Trevor responded, "Yeah, you don't give wife energy LOL." Paige replied, "Good." The worst messages weren't with Trevor, though. They were with Megan. Megan hadn't been encouraging her. That surprised me. The preview I saw sounded cruel without context, but the conversation around it was different. Paige had written, "He's being weird since game night." Megan replied, You embarrassed him. Paige wrote, he knows I care. He just gets dramatic when I don't say things exactly how he wants. Megan replied, you said he was pretending. In front of everyone. Then Paige wrote, he'll reset. He always does if I get upset enough. Megan answered, he'll come back if you cry, right? He always does. Reading it in context didn't make it better. It made it worse. Megan was calling it out, and Paige still saw me as predictable. Not loved. Not respected. Predictable. There was another message from Paige that I read 3 times because my brain rejected it the first 2. Jonathan is safe. That's the problem. I know he'll be there if I need him, but I don't know if safe is enough forever. That was the moment I stopped feeling heartbroken and started feeling stupid. Not because I loved her. Because I had been helping her disrespect me. I took screenshots of the messages that involved me, the trip, and the reservations under my name. I didn't send them to anyone. I didn't post them. I didn't call Paige and scream. I didn't call Trevor. I didn't even call Megan. I made coffee I didn't drink. I sat at my table with the tablet on one side and my laptop on the other, and I started removing myself from the parts of Paige's life where she had quietly made me useful. The hotel cancellation was first. A refund confirmation hit my inbox 3 minutes later. The activity deposit took 10 minutes because the website froze twice. The restaurant was easy. Then I changed the streaming password. Not dramatically. No message. No announcement. I removed Paige's profile because I paid the bill and I was tired of seeing her half-watched shows sitting under my account like nothing had changed. I checked the shared calendar and removed myself from Paige's pink events that had somehow become my responsibility. Her car pickup. Her appointment ride. A reminder to order candles for the birthday dinner cake. A reminder to text Ryan about Lauren's dinner because he'll forget. I left the group chat too. That one hurt more than I expected. It was just a thread full of memes, dinner plans, blurry photos, and people arguing about restaurants. But I realized that in that group, I had become a resource. The reliable one. The one who confirmed reservations, sent addresses, covered awkward gaps, calmed Paige down, and laughed when the joke was on me. Before leaving, I typed one message. I'm stepping out of this chat. Nothing against anyone here. I need some space. Ryan reacted with a question mark. Lauren wrote, wait, are you okay? Megan wrote, text me if you need anything. Paige didn't write anything in the chat. She called me 30 seconds later. I watched her name light up my phone until it stopped. Then I texted her. I'm not discussing this over the phone. Text me what you need to say. The bubbles appeared immediately. Paige, wow. So now I'm some stranger? Me. You were comfortable describing me that way. Paige, what is that supposed to mean? Me. I'm canceling the reservations under my name. Anything you still want to do, you can rebook yourself. There was a longer pause. Paige, what reservations? Me, the trip. Paige, you canceled our trip? Me, I canceled the parts one paid for. Paige, that is so childish. Me, no. Childish was treating a trip I paid for like something you could repurpose. The typing bubbles appeared, disappeared, and appeared again. Paige, you went through my messages? Me, your notifications were on the shared tablet. I saw enough to know I needed to protect myself. Paige, that is such a violation. Me, so was using me as insurance while you tested someone else. She didn't answer for 20 minutes. When she did, it was exactly what the message with Megan had prepared me for. Paige, I'm crying right now and you don't even care. I stared at it until my chest stopped tightening. Then I wrote, I care. I'm just not available for emotional cleanup over the phone anymore. She called again. I didn't answer. The next week was the strangest kind of breakup because Paige still acted like there was a system she could reboot if she found the right button. At first, she tried anger. Paige, are you seriously making me ask other people for help now? Me, yes. Paige, you know my car situation. Me, I know. Paige, so you're punishing me. Me, I'm not available for the parts of the relationship you still want. Then she tried disbelief. Paige, the streaming account kicked me out. Me, I changed the password. Paige, seriously? After 4 years? Me, you told people I was pretending we were serious. I'm done pretending too. Then she tried softness. Paige, I miss you. I didn't answer that one for an hour. Not because I wanted to be cruel. Because I missed her too, and I knew if I answered too fast, I would answer from the part of me that still wanted to be chosen by the person who had already taught herself to choose me only halfway. Finally, I wrote, I miss who I thought we were. She responded with a crying emoji and nothing else. In the group, things got awkward. I wasn't in the chat anymore, but Ryan texted me separately. Ryan, dude, what happened? Me, asked Paige. Ryan, she says you're mad because she doesn't like labels. Me, that is not what happened. Ryan, I figured. The trip thing true? I stared at the question for a while. Me, true enough that I canceled what was under my name. Ryan, wild. That was all he said. Ryan joked too much, but he wasn't stupid. Megan texted me 2 days later. Megan, I'm sorry about my apartment. I should have said something when she made that comment. Me, you didn't say it. Megan, no, but I let the silence help her. That was the first message from anyone that made me feel less crazy. I thanked her. She didn't ask for details. She just wrote, for what it's worth, I did tell her it was messed up. I believed her because I had seen it. Paige hated that I wasn't fighting in public. She wanted me to either chase her or explode. Both would have helped her. If I chased, she could prove she still had control. If I exploded, she could show everyone I was too intense. So I did neither. I answered logistical texts. I ignored bait. I didn't send screenshots unless someone directly accused me of lying. And even then I didn't send them to the group. I kept them for my own clarity because I knew myself. I knew there would be nights where I would remember Paige crying in my car, Paige laughing into my shoulder, Paige asleep on my couch with one hand tucked under her cheek, and I would start bargaining with myself. The screenshots weren't weapons. They were anchors. Lauren's birthday dinner came 2 weeks after Megan's apartment gathering. I almost didn't go. Lauren had texted me herself. Lauren, I know things are weird. I'd still like you there if you're comfortable. No pressure. I liked Lauren. She had always tried to keep everyone together, sometimes too much, but not maliciously. Also, disappearing completely would have made Paige's version easier. She had been telling people I was punishing her because she wouldn't perform commitment on command. So I went. The restaurant had a long table set up near the back. Not fancy enough to feel stiff, but nice enough that everyone lowered their voices a little when they sat down. Lauren wore a black dress and kept saying she didn't want a big thing even though she clearly loved that people came. Ryan was already making fun of the menu prices. Megan sat across from me and gave me a small nod when I arrived. Paige was there before me. She looked good. Of course she did. Hair done, soft sweater, the earrings I had bought her the year before. She smiled when I walked in, but it didn't reach her eyes. Jonathan, she said, like we were friendly co-workers. Paige. I sat 2 seats away because Ryan's jacket was thrown over the chair between us. I don't know if he did that on purpose, but I was grateful. For the first half hour, everyone behaved. Lauren opened a gift. Ryan complained that the appetizer portions were emotionally unavailable. Megan asked Lauren about her plans for the weekend. Paige laughed at the right times. I ordered 1 drink and mostly listened. Then Paige posted a story. I only knew because Ryan snorted and showed Lauren his phone. Finally, a drama-free night. The caption said, over a picture of the table with everyone's glasses raised. Megan saw it too. Her expression changed, just slightly. Paige noticed me noticing, and I think that's when she decided she needed to win the room back. When dessert came out, Lauren's cake had 1 candle because she said multiple candles felt aggressive. Everyone sang badly. Lauren laughed and covered her face. For a minute, it felt normal. Then Paige lifted her glass. I just want to say, she began, smiling toward Lauren. I love that we can all still get together like adults. Ryan muttered, dangerous start. A couple of people laughed. Paige continued, and can we all appreciate that Jonathan finally learned not everything needs a label? The laughter came out nervous and thin. My hand was around my glass. I set it down carefully. Paige looked pleased for half a second. She thought I would do what I always did. Smile tightly. Swallow it. Let the table move on so nobody else had to feel uncomfortable. Instead, I looked at her and said, you're right. The table quieted. I stopped asking for a label when I realized you only called me your boyfriend when it benefited you. Paige's smile froze. Lauren said softly, guys, maybe not at. Paige cut her off. No, it's fine. Jonathan clearly came prepared. I didn't, I said. I came for Lauren. Then maybe don't make her birthday about your feelings. Ryan looked down at his plate. Megan stared at Paige. I nodded once. Fair. I'll keep it short. Paige rolled her eyes. You're doing too much right now. No, I said. Doing too much was paying for a trip you told someone else you might take if things got interesting with him. The silence was immediate. Not awkward. Not gradual. Immediate. Someone's fork touched a plate with a tiny sound that felt enormous. Paige's face changed. That's how I knew she understood exactly what I meant. Not confusion. Not outrage. Fear. Ryan leaned back. Paige, is that real? Paige laughed, but it came out wrong. Oh my God. That is not what happened. Megan's voice was quiet. Then what happened? Paige looked at her. Seriously? Megan didn't look away. You told us he was making things serious when you were using his trip deposit as a backup? I wasn't using anything, Paige snapped. I reached for my wallet and put cash beside my plate for my part of the bill. My hands were steadier than I felt. Paige turned back to me. You read private messages, and now you're trying to humiliate me in front of everyone. I almost laughed, not because it was funny, but because the shape of it was so familiar. Somehow the issue wasn't what she did. It was that people could see it. I saw notifications on a shared tablet, I said. I saw enough to know the trip I paid for was not being treated like our trip. That is such a twisted way to say it. Then say it straight. She opened her mouth. Nothing came out. Ryan rubbed his face. That's not great, Paige. Wow. Paige said, looking around the table. Glad everyone is picking sides. Lauren looked miserable. Nobody wants to pick sides. I'm not asking anyone to, I said. Then I looked at Lauren. Happy birthday. I'm sorry this happened here. She gave me a sad little nod. Thanks for coming. Paige said my name as I stood. Not gently. Warningly. Jonathan. I looked at her one last time at that table. I didn't want to win the table, I said. I wanted to stop losing myself in front of it. Then I left. I didn't storm out. I didn't slam anything. I didn't read screenshots aloud. I didn't call Paige names. I walked to my car, sat in the driver's seat, and let my hands shake where nobody could see. That's the part people don't talk about with self-respect. Sometimes it doesn't feel powerful in the moment. Sometimes it feels like grief with better posture. The fallout started before I got home. My phone buzzed at red lights. I didn't check it until I was parked. Ryan, I'm staying out of this, but the trip thing is wild if true. Lauren, I'm sorry. I don't even know what to say. Megan, you handled that better than most people would have. Then Paige posted a story. Black background. White text. Learning who really shows up when things get hard. 10 minutes later, another one. Some people punish you for having feelings. I stared at it without feeling the punch I expected. Maybe because I had already heard the private version. Then Megan sent me a screenshot from the group chat. Paige had written, I hope everyone enjoyed Jonathan's little performance. He has been angry for weeks because I wouldn't let him force me into a relationship structure I'm not ready for. Ryan wrote, I thought you two had been together almost 4 years? Paige, that doesn't mean ownership. Lauren, nobody said ownership. Megan, I'm confused. Didn't you tell everyone he was never really your boyfriend? Nobody wrote anything for a full minute after that. Then Paige wrote, wow, glad everyone is picking sides. Megan, I'm asking because you keep changing the explanation. That was the sentence that made her victim story collapse. Not with fireworks. Not with everyone turning on her at once. Real life is rarely that clean. But people stopped rushing to comfort her. They stopped laughing at the jokes. They stopped treating me like the dramatic one by default. For Paige, that was worse than being hated. It meant she was no longer controlling the room. The next day, she texted me before breakfast. Paige, I can't believe you made me look like that. Me. I repeated what happened. Paige, you made it sound awful. Me. It was awful. Paige, I was confused. Me. You were clear enough to keep me useful. She didn't answer for a while. Later that afternoon, Trevor became part of the story again, though not because I contacted him. Ryan, who apparently had fewer boundaries around gossip than he claimed, told me Trevor had been asked what was going on. Trevor's response was almost funny in how little drama it contained. According to Ryan, Trevor said, I didn't know she was actually leaving somebody over this. I thought we were flirting. When Paige confronted him, he apparently told her, I'm not looking to jump into anything. That was it. No secret love. No grand plan. No passionate confession. Trevor had liked the attention. He had liked being the exciting maybe. But he had no intention of replacing me because he had never seen the role as open. He had seen Paige as a flirtation, not a future. I wish I could say hearing that made me happy. It didn't. It made me tired. Paige had risked someone who showed up for someone who leaned back when things got real. And somehow, part of me still hurt for her because I knew she was about to feel abandoned by the fantasy she built while standing on my back. That night, she called. I almost didn't answer. Then I decided I wanted one conversation that wasn't through texts and not in front of witnesses. Hello, I said. She was crying. Not loud, not theatrical, just crying in that exhausted way people cry when their version of events stops working. You punished me, she said. No. You canceled the trip. You cut me off from everything. You embarrassed me. I stopped providing things you were using while telling people I was pretending. You knew I was scared. I sat on the edge of my couch. The room was quiet except for her breathing through the phone. Being scared didn't give you the right to make me your backup plan. I didn't mean it like that. You told Trevor the weekend could be repurposed. She made a small sound, like she hated the word coming from my mouth. I was trying to figure out what I wanted. No, I said. You were trying to keep what I gave you while seeing if someone else made you feel more excited. That's not fair. It's accurate. She cried harder then. A month earlier, maybe even 2 weeks earlier, I would have softened. I would have apologized for my tone. I would have told her we could talk tomorrow. I would have given her a bridge back to the same place. This time, I let the silence stay. Finally, she whispered, "So you're really done?" I looked around my living room. The tablet was still on the counter, logged out of her accounts now. The calendar on my phone had empty space where yellow plans used to be. For the first time in years, that empty space didn't feel like failure. It felt like air. I didn't leave because you needed time, I said. I left because you wanted my loyalty without giving me respect. I do respect you. No, Paige. You like being loved by me. That's not the same thing. She was quiet. I continued because if I stopped there, she would pull the conversation into feelings and away from choices. You called me your boyfriend when your parents needed to see stability. You made me sound delusional when your friends might think you were tied down. You let me pay for a trip and then talked about using it with someone else. You told Megan I would reset if you cried. That isn't confusion. That is a pattern. I said that when I was upset. You said it because it had worked before. That landed. I could hear it in the silence. I loved you, she said. I believe you loved something about me. That's cruel. No. Cruel would be pretending I can keep doing this. She asked if we could meet. I said no. She asked if we could talk in a few days. I said there was nothing left to negotiate. She asked what she was supposed to tell people. That was the first time I almost got angry. Tell them the truth, I said. Or don't. I'm done managing the story for you. When I hung up, I didn't feel triumphant. I sat there for a long time with my phone in my hand, feeling the weight of almost 4 years settle into the room. I thought about every time I had accepted vague answers because I was afraid clarity would cost me her. I thought about every ride, every family dinner, every calendar reminder, every don't start, every time I swallowed a comment because I didn't want to look insecure. I had wanted to be patient. But patience without respect had turned into self-erasure. Over the next few weeks, the consequences continued in small, realistic ways. Paige had to rebook her own birthday details. She had to ask someone else for rides. She had to pay for her own subscriptions. She had to explain to her parents why I wasn't coming to dinner anymore after they had been told for years that I was her boyfriend. Her mother texted me once. I don't know what happened, but we are sorry to hear you won't be around. You were always kind to us. I wrote back. Thank you. I appreciate that. I wish you both well. I didn't explain. I didn't need to recruit her family. Lauren checked on me twice. Ryan sent memes again after a respectful pause, which was probably his way of saying he didn't know how to be serious for too long, but still cared. Megan and I stayed friendly, though not in a dramatic way. She apologized once more for not speaking up sooner, and I told her I understood how awkward groups could be when nobody wanted to be the first person to say the thing everyone could feel. Paige posted less after people stopped reacting the way she wanted. The sad captions slowed down. The indirect quotes disappeared. I heard from Megan that Paige had told a smaller version of the truth eventually, something like, I handled things badly and Jonathan is not talking to me. That was more accountability than I expected, though not enough to change anything. She emailed me once a month later. It was long, too long. It said she was working on herself. It said she had been scared of becoming trapped. It said Trevor meant nothing. It said she missed how safe I made her feel. That last line sat with me. I missed feeling safe too. But safety can't only flow one way. I didn't answer right away. I waited 2 days, read it again, and wrote back 4 sentences. I hope you figure out why being loved made you feel trapped. I also hope you understand that I can't be the place you return to while you figure it out. I'm not angry enough to want bad things for you. I'm just done being available. Then I blocked her number for a while. Not forever as some dramatic punishment. Just long enough for my nervous system to stop treating every buzz as a possible emergency I had to solve. The trip dates came and went. I didn't repurpose them. I didn't take someone else. I didn't post anything. On the Saturday that would have been our second day away, I made breakfast, cleaned my apartment, and watched a movie on the streaming account that finally had only my profile on it. It was quiet. A little sad. Also peaceful. I used to think the most loving thing I could do was stay steady until Paige felt safe enough to choose me. Now I think the most respectful thing I ever did for both of us was stop auditioning for a role I had already been performing. I didn't walk away because she was unsure. I walked away because she made my certainty useful while making it look embarrassing. And once I saw that clearly, there was no version of loving her that still allowed me to abandon myself. If you like the stories, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.